week's program. Unfortunately, Miss Weeks can't make it tonight. She's busy right now getting ready for the big rally to happen tomorrow to protect our children. Tonight, my name is Sherwin Francis, and I'll be holding on for Marcia. And we have quite a few guests for you tonight from the US, the Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, from around the Caribbean. And it's going to be an interesting program tonight as we discuss the issues around protecting our children from these agendas that have been pushed on us in our countries, whether it's in the US, Trinidad, Barbados, Bahamas. We are going to be pushing back on this evil agenda that is coming for our children. Tonight, we have our first guest coming in from the US, Mr. Leon Williams. So, Leon, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why are you supporting this program?
Well, I am Bajan to the bone, although living abroad for some 35 years. But I have my roots there. I'm the grandfather of 10, the great grandfather of 13, and the father of 6, all in Barbados, plus other relatives.
Right.
So, my great concern is the future of my progeny, as every parent has a right to be. And seeing what is taking place, I am very concerned with the educational system that is now becoming downright disrespectful of parental rights. As you know, here in the USA, some parents were arrested and called domestic terrorists for standing up for their children, which is just unnatural. So I want to say this to all the powers that be within the sounds of my voice, and you know who you are. It is a God given right of every parent to bring up their children in a way that is normal, respectable, and responsible. However, it is not the responsibility of any government or any dictatorial regime to decide over parental objections what is best for the children. Yet we see that these governments are taking measures to sidestep parental authority, introducing, aiding, and abetting very immoral education that is very damagingly dangerous to the future and wellness of our youth. Therefore, we who are gathered here in this panel have one accord that we are not against any laws or mandates that are in line with godly standards. But when the line is crossed, where morality is set aside for the culture of convenience and popularity, as we are now seeing, we do not and will not accept the callous, disgusting, disrespectful attitudes towards parental God-given rights and oversight. We will in no manner, shape, or form accept the immoral sexual indoctrination that is being forced upon our children. We outrightly reject any form of transgender education in the schools. We totally abhor any and all forms of gender confusion, mutilation, orientation that goes on the banner of gender fluidity. We are demanding that our parental rights be respected that our human dignity must no longer be trampled upon. We will in no way accept any foreign entity, whether it be the demigods of the WEF, the CDC, the WHO, the UN, or any other head of state, and you know who you are, to dictate to we, the sovereign people of the Caribbean region, how to raise our children, or to introduce any education curriculum without being in direct consultation with the parents or is elected bona fide representative by the parents. I want to make this categorically clear to all the political leaders of the world. Our children do not belong to you. Let me repeat this. Our children do not belong to any one of you. We will not sit idle and allow the molestation or any forms of child abuse by anyone, no matter who they may who there may be. Please respect the God-given family, its values, given to us, given to us by our Heavenly Father, God.
Amen.
We will not accept any change in gender, any of your illicitness of pronouns to change our identity. Whatever you want to do in your life, go do it. But please, don't try to ram it down our throats by the way of draconian mandates or intimidating tactics. We will not be carried into silence. We will not be intimidated. Please, leave our children alone. Leave our nuclear family structure alone. Our children are our own. They don't belong to you, and by God, we will never let them be. In closing, I have 7 objectives. 1, we will not accept any measures or mandates that will cause us to violate any righteous principles. 2, we will not accept the sexual indoctrination or mutilation of our children. 3, we will not accept any grooming or transgender education for our children. 4, we will not accept any pornographic material being introduced into the education system because this is proliferating right now. 5, we, the sovereign people of the Caribbean, outrightly will not accept any foreign entity, whether it is the World Economic Forum, the WHO, the CDC, the UN, or any other powerful heads of state to dictate to us how we are to raise our children, to dictate what education is given to our children without parental input and consent. It must not be snubbed in behind our backs as was done before with the code.org program. And as you are now intending to do with all this transgender education, the teachers must not and cannot be given full authority over our children because the educational system has now been infiltrated by persons of every truth, calling themselves non-attractive persons or mad. And my people, there's a new one, YAP, YAP. They're calling themselves now young, attracted people. Yeah. But all these are clever, disgusting disguise and acronyms for pedo, pedophilia. Whether it's MAP or YAP, it's all having to do with the worldwide pedophilia network. And if you want to know about this, go to the YouTube channel of Dr. Leonard. Let me just have it here. Okay, of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson on YouTube. Or Google Humanist International Child Sacrifice. And there you'll find out that over 6 million children have been kidnapped, trafficked, dissected, parts stolen on the black market. 30-year-old girls were impregnated. Then the babies were taken, chopped up, the blood being drank by these things, and then the girls were killed. This is real, people. Our children are in serious danger if we do not stand up. Number 6, it is us, the parents and grandparents, who have the sole God-given right to decide what is best for our children. And we will never give up our God-given rights. Never, ever. Finally, number 7, we will not accept our identity, our church's identity, which was given by Almighty God when He created man and woman with no pronoun. That's the bottom line. Our mission of the upcoming rally at Esplanade in Barbados on July the 8th at 10 a.m. sharp. Everyone, come on out. Bring everyone out. Bring the children. Bring everyone. Even bring the cat and the mouse and the hens from the hen house. All inclusive. This is very important as we stand up to protect our children from this all satanic attack. Okay? Now, let me conclude here. So, we are here for the preservation of family dignity, for godly morality with no exceptions. We hope we make this point clear. We are a peaceful people who are asking that our parental rights throughout the world be respected, that we as parents and legal guardians reserve the right to protect and raise our children in the way that is best along all moral and ethical principles. And I want to say in Beijing for that, let we children alone. You hear me? You hear what I say? Yeah? Let we children alone. No? They are not yours. They are our own. So let it be. So let it be written. We as godly moral parents throughout the Caribbean diaspora will never feed our children or allow our children to be fed the insipid alphabet soup of genders. And there is what I have to say. Now over to you, moderator. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Powerful message here. Powerful message. Next, we're going to bring up Mel, who's in Trinidad and Tobago. Mel is secretary for the TT for the Mel. I'll let you introduce yourself in a second. Hi, Mel. Could you introduce yourself to
Hello.
the audience, please?
Are you seeing me?
Yes, we are seeing you fine.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Mal Lewis. I am the Assistant Secretary of the First Wave Movement. I'm here this evening to speak about the issues of the things that they are trying to introduce into our school system. So I'm just here to introduce that topic. Thank you so much, you gentlemen that spoke before. You go ahead.
So Mel, tell us a little bit of what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago and what are you all doing to push back on what's coming in terms of the books that are being presented in our bookstores and what is the government trying to do to our schools in terms of the education and the LGBTQ agenda. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Okay. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have a government that has a track record of saying one thing and doing something else. Um, our education minister, Ms. Nyan Gaspidali, has stated that these things are not going to be implemented in the schools and so on and so forth. Our concern with it is these books are already being brought into the country. Again, they say one thing and do another. Our country has been lied to from top to bottom on many different issues. And our children is our future, the future of our country, the future of our world. We just came out of a pandemic where parents and children, jobs and education was threatened. Children were not allowed to go to school. Teachers were threatened and told that they had to take a job or they would not be able to go to school and so on and so forth. We all know the fight that went on for that period. And now these are the same people. So we don't have anybody autonomy. These are the same people that are telling us that they are not going to introduce these systems into our school. We are not blind and we are not stupid. We can look all around the world and see what is being implemented everywhere. So Trinidad and Tobago really has to be unique for us to believe that they are not going to bring these books into our school system. Um, Certain bookstores have started offering these books. They said that the children cannot go and purchase them on their own. And the education minister is saying that it is not going to be implemented in the schools. However, what is stopping this material from being donated to the schools? Trinidad and Tobago has many different religious backgrounds. Some people are believers, other people are unbelievers. I don't want to make this into a religious discussion, but we really need to take into strong consideration what are they promoting to our children. Once upon a time, certain things that they are teaching now worldwide was classified under mental health. That has been removed. Trinidad and Tobago, St. Anne's is basically our only psychiatric hospital, and people can't just walk in and get help. Counseling and psychiatric help is very, very expensive in Trinidad and Tobago. We do not have a very high suicide rate when it comes to children and these type of issues. We don't have much confusion at all. We have people living within society that nobody is bothering. Some of them are quite popular and they are allowed to live their lives. I think, however, There must be a solid line drawn when it comes to children. An adult cannot go online and speak to a minor in a sexual way because then they will call it sexual grooming. So now we are talking about introducing or even entertaining the idea of introducing this type of material into a school system. When you teach children certain things, they start experimenting. Is this really what we want to promote? And then they tie it to HIV and mental health. And I'm really trying to keep my composure here because this is a really sensitive topic. I don't want to offend anyone, but I need to be honest and true to myself and my beliefs. Introducing this to children, nothing good is going to come out of it. We can look worldwide and see what is happening. Are we going to start bringing drugs into our country to treat people with testosterone and estrogen? Are we then going to tell people that it is okay for them to mutilate themselves? That we are not teaching people that they are enough, they are the way that God created them to be. We want to confuse and put these type of ideas into impressionable minds. The family, the structure worldwide has more or less been destroyed, right? We came from generations learning from our grandmother, our grandfather, our aunts, our uncles, and we mold our children. We came from a society where we said it takes a community to raise a child. But then that went out the window because then we noticed not everyone in the community is a positive influence. School is where you are supposed to go learn math, English, science, all the different skills that you need to be able to survive in this life. Sexual education should be left up to the parent. Nobody is stopping anyone from living their life. Everyone has free will, and that is a gift given by God. Within our country, we have our constitution where we have certain rights as citizens that is defended. Freedom of expression, freedom of movement, freedom of religion. A lot of children are in government schools. Is our education going to trample on our freedom of religion? What we teach our children is right from wrong. What kind of society do we want to foster into the future? We can see anyone that was born before the 90s knew and knows what life was like. Yes, there's many improvements, but certain moral principles that we have let go of has caused society worldwide to end up the way that it is now. We need to know when to draw a line in the sand. This is not something that we can compromise on. Many people, against their own convictions, they study, hey, how am I going to survive? How am I going to pay my bills? I don't feel comfortable with this, but I have to feed my family. And then parents faced with the decision, hey, my child has to get the education. I don't want them to be left behind. They are not the only child in this country. They have to contend with many other students that may be better than them. I want my child to get educated so that they could go into the work world and they'll be able to take care of themselves. That was threatened. That was threatened. And then the consequences of many people who may have been hurt was covered up. Many people were hurt, many people died. And some of these things that they are teaching, once these children get on this journey, it is irreversible. I'd like to stop there for now, but I really need people to think about what it is we really pushing here. This is sexualizing children. There are some things that parents should teach their child, If you live that lifestyle and you want to teach your children that, fine. I will teach my children, be respectful to people. But we are asking, this leads down the road for asking people to lie every day and literally ignore objective reality. This is wrong. A line needs to be drawn in the sand. Adults want to live their life. Okay, go ahead. Leave the children alone. And I
That's right, Mel. I
want to
definitely
make it,
support you on
I
that.
didn't want to make it um religious, but I must say this. The word says those who would cause, and I'm just hyperphrasing here, those who would cause those little ones to sin against me, it's better you tie a rope, put a milestone around your neck, and sink yourself to the bottom of the sea. These are children. Leave them alone. How would they know what good touch and bad touch is if they're saying that we changing the definition and the labels of everything? Imagine we are afraid to say the word pedophile now. We are calling them minor attracted persons and they only think about it. Want to tell little boys that they're little girls and little girls that they're little boys, and then everybody going to get confused. Ignore objective reality. X, 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 Y, that means nothing. I would like, I'm not meaning to be a little, just to add a little humor to it. If people can be, I mean, we taught children for years that they could be anything they want to be, but we never taught them to ignore reality. We would always say to them, you are what you are. But this, into impressionable minds, leave the children out of it. We draw the line. All these organizations working together, this, 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 these people, the social monitoring report on the sexual and reproductive rights and they're tying it into some, these people are crafty. You all need to be careful and know where you all stand, and are you all going to protect your children from this? Draw your line in the sand, people of this world. Draw your line in the sand, Trinidad and Tobago. They've proven to you, they've lied to you over and over and over. You're going to trust them with your children, your future, your seed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mel. Thank you very much. I think you speak for everyone with your discourse there. I totally agree with you. We have to draw the line somewhere. I think for a lot of us parents, this is the red line that, don't go any further. This is our children, right? We don't want to hear coming for them at all. We'll be waiting. But Mel, I'll put you backstage. And before I bring on our next guest, who's Pastor Grant, I want to play a short clip that he sent to me that'll be very informative for those watching this program. So hold on a second.
Thank you. I'm Alan Bergman. I'm the co-chair of the entertainment division at Disney, and we have a special announcement to make today. As you know, Disney's a place of magic. It's where frogs turn into princes, where orphans like Cinderella can transform into beautiful princesses. And unlike us jaded adults, the children believe in magic. And we spent 100 years cultivating a brand that has been trusted and loved by families for generations. And with that trust, we've covertly been inserting queerness into our films and television shows. First as LGBTQ background characters, and later in leading roles and plot points. And few parents know that 2 years ago now, for Pride Month, on Disney Plus, our streaming service, we streamed the Disney Plus Drag Queen Extravaganza to help introduce queer ideologies and sexualities to the children and encourage them to experiment on their own. And we're proud of our perfect DEI score, our diversity, equity, and inclusion score, but we always strive to go above and beyond what is expected. And so we're proud to announce that this summer we're going to be opening Disney-themed pediatric transgender clinics for the children across the country. As you know, there's still a tremendous stigma against parents deciding to change the gender of their children, especially for those raising their children as gender non-binary, using they, them pronouns. And so we're confident that with our Disney brand puberty blockers and our character-themed clinics that we can help reduce this stigma and we can normalize these ideas and we can make them mainstream. Other brands like Bud Light, Gillette, and Pantene have helped pave this path, and we're proud to take the lead and bring us into the New World Order. We want to thank Governor Gavin Newsom, President Joe Biden, Assistant Health Secretary Rachel Levine, an incredible woman. And notice I didn't say transgender woman. She's a real woman, and it's about time that we stop making these divisive distinctions when talking about her and others. So every patient will receive a free season pass to any Disney theme park. And just for coming in for a consultation, you'll get a free 6-month subscription to our Disney Plus streaming service. So bring the kids on in. We look forward to taking care of them. We'll be seeing you soon.
And I'll see you soon if you join my exclusive.
Right.
So, our next guest is Pastor Grant. So, Pastor Grant, you saw that video there, and I think you guys did a really good presentation the way you put it across. What are your thoughts? What's really going on in this world?
Well, you know, that video is very, very enlightening. That video shows you that there's a great agenda and a great plan to indoctrinate our children with this LGBTQ ideologies, and they're going to use any means necessary, any means available to do it. A big organization, media organization like Disney, have been used to subtly, as he put it, covertly introduce our young people to these LGBTQ ideologies. And so many parents in America and even in Trinidad, allow their children to watch Disney cartoons and films and so on, not knowing that, very subtly, Disney has been promoting and introducing them to this LGBTQ ideologies. It's frightening, to tell you the truth. When I saw this video and when I did my research, it is frightening. There are so many huge organizations. We used to think that, this homosexual thing was just, anecdotal. You have 1 or 2 people here, whatever it is, who are engaged in this thing. But this LGBTQ agenda is a well-organized, hugely funded movement. And it will take more than the normal protests and so on to stop this thing, because there are huge organizations funding this thing, promoting this thing. You have the United Nations and all of its agencies, and you have hundreds of LGBTQ rights groups that are funded by governments in the promotion of this ideology. But I want this evening to bring some international legal context to what is taking place, so people could understand what really is happening. Why is our government being forced to introduce this comprehensive sex education? Where is this force coming from? Who is forcing our governments to do this? Because this LGBTQ ideology did not originate with Caribbean states or African states or Pacific states. It originated in the European Union and the United Nations. But I want to bring some international legal context to this conversation so people can understand what is going on. Before I get into it, if your technical people there can go to the internet and pull up, search for Myro de Te Myra, or they could just put in Myro and Myra, Trinidad and Tobago. A certain statistical chart is going to come up there, which if you can put it on screen when I ask for it, I will appreciate that. Okay, Miro, M-I-R-O, and M-I-R-A, and then put Trinidad and Tobago, and they will see it come up there, and I will tell them what to do. And they could click on comprehensive sex education, and a whole chart would come up, which it would be nice for the viewers to see. Now, why I want to reference that is because, you know, a lot of people are confused with statements by our Minister of Education. You know, they keep communicating to the population in a manner to indicate that, well, you know, we're not doing this, we're not on this comprehensive sex education, and people are not sure what the government is doing and what they are not doing. But when we see this chart from this social monitoring initiative group, we will see that our government are reporting on the progress they are making with regards to the policy framework and the legal framework that they have given commitment to put in place to legalize and promote this LGBTQ ideology. So I want to just, as I said, I want to bring this some international legal context to this. First, I want to say that, you know, there are some in other countries. I listened to the president of Uganda speak on this matter. I listened to a gentleman, I think he's from South Africa. His name is Joshua Mopunga, and they described what is taking place with this LGBTQ ideology that is being forced on Caribbean, Pacific, and African states. They describe it as social and cultural imperialism. You know, some of them describe it as a vehicle for social change. In other words, you know, the European Union and their countries and the United Nations, they want to force social change on the nations of the Caribbean, Pacific, and Africa. Now, I want to talk about the international legal context. You know, the advocates. So I want to talk about the derivation of sex, this sexual and reproductive health and rights, this LGBTQ ideology that is camouflaged under the banner of sexual and reproductive health and rights in so-called regional treaties and conventions. So let me say this. Now, the sponsors and advocates of this LGBTQ ideologies under the banner, right? Under the banner of sexual and reproductive health and rights, they talk in their agreement and consensus documents at these international fora. They talk about it in terms of sexual and reproductive health and rights, but what they really intend is more than the normal reproduction and sexual and reproductive health that we know of. I'll come to that. So, the sponsors and advocates of this LGBTQ ideologies, okay, claim that their demands or their position on this comprehensive sex education and some other things, they claim that it is based on human rights. That is human rights standards, okay, which they say stipulate in a number of international agreements and consensus documents, right, to which our government have given their commitment in principle. So our government and many other governments from Africa, Pacific, and the Caribbean have given commitment to what is called sexual and reproductive health and rights in principle at these international United Nations fora, right, and other regional fora. but they have given these, but these people are claiming that these documents have given them the right to impose these ideologies on us. Now, let me just say this. While our government have given commitments to these international consensus agreements in principle, these agreements and these consensus documents are not legally binding, and they contain many controversial sexual, reproductive, and health rights provisions. Right? They have provisions in these documents that can be that has not been, the interpretation has not been agreed on, and they are wide open, and they can be interpreted in any form or fashion and include many things that we may not want in those agreements. However, the LGBTQ rights advocates claim that these UN sexual and reproductive health and rights standards are persuasive enough in character to bind nation states into implementing these LGBTQ ideologies. They claim that. They want to say, well, look, you know, this sexual and reproductive rights are mentioned in so many so many agreements and documents from regional conferences and international conferences that they have enough weight that our governments should go ahead and ratify these treaties and these agreements in which they have given their commitments in principle. One such document, regional agreement, is referred to as the Montevideo Consensus. Now, before I go further, I just want to do something because I know sometimes I forget, and we may forget. I want to just share with the audience some sites that they can go to if they want to research this whole thing any further. So listen carefully. You can just Google, or sometimes you may not. Google sometimes suppresses some of these sites, so you might have to use DuckDuckGo as another search engine. So you can search for planinternational.org. That is one website where you will get lots of information on what is going on as far as this sexual and reproductive health and rights are concerned. Then you can go to stopcse.org. You will get information there on what comprehensive sex education is and why it is dangerous, why it is harmful to children. You can also go to familywatchinternational.org. familywatchinternational.org. You will also get information there on comprehensive sex education and dangers to children. Then you can also go to the Child Protection League. Just type in Child Protection League and that website would come up. And I have two others. EU Treaty, EUTREATY, EUtreaty.org. And there you will find information about a treaty that the UN wants our government to sign or to ratify. And if they ratify that treaty, and as it is now, then the government would be forced under international law to implement this comprehensive sex education and other sexual and reproductive health rights in our nation. And sixth, you can just type in MIRA, M-I-R-A, and type in MIRA and MIRO, M-I-R-O, Trinidad and Tobago, and there you would see a chart. When you click on the various topics, you will see a chart that shows you all the Latin American countries and what progress they have reported that they are making or have made in terms of the implementation of legal frameworks and policy frameworks with regards to things like comprehensive sex education, abortion, legalizing abortion, secularization of the society, and so on. So you can go to those sites. Okay. So as I said, so let me go back to where I was. With regards to this sexual and this LGBTQ ideology, which is camouflaged in these international consensus documents and agreements as sexual and reproductive health and rights. They camouflage it under that name. Let me tell you what it really is all about. I am quoting here. I have taken this from the Plan International document. They have a very comprehensive document on this whole thing. And basically, the gist of what they are saying is this: all children, and children is defined in the United Nations rights of the child as any child between the age of 0 and 18 years. Now, hear what they want. All children have the right to make sexual and reproductive health choices free from parental control and advice. This is madness. You can't tell me you have a 12-year-old or 11-year-old in your house as your child, and the state wants to give her the right to run all over the place, right? Be licentious and promiscuous, and you can't tell her anything. She could have sex with whoever she want, however she want. You know, she can go to whatever clinic they have that providing certain services, and you as a parent have no intervention. Your right as a parent has been taken away. They have the right. Let me just go on and then we will, right? Another thing with regards to this LGBTQ ideology that is camouflaged under the banner of sexual and reproductive health and rights, it says this: all nation states, this is what the United Nations and the European Union, this is their position. This is the European Union position. This is the United Nations position. All nation states must ratify and fully implement all conventions and agreements relating to sexual and reproductive health and rights, including all action items listed in these agreements and documents, whether the provisions in these documents with regards to sexual and reproductive health and rights are controversial or not. Many African states, many Caribbean states have raised objections to some of the provisions in these international agreements which they have signed and committed to in principle. But they are saying that they want our governments to ratify these consensus documents and agreements without trashing out, well, look, what is the scope of this sexual and reproductive health and rights, which really is a cover for a lot of LGBTQ ideologies. So they want our government to fully implement, in other words, enact laws, remove laws to facilitate the promotion and the institutionalization of LGBTQ ideologies. Let me go a little further. Now, another position that the UN and the EU have is this: they are saying to our governments and all governments in the Caribbean and African countries and Pacific countries, quote, when ratifying these agreements, conventions, right, countries, well, I wouldn't say quote, I am just extracting from what they have in the document. When ratifying these agreements and conventions, countries are not allowed to make reservations in these controversial sexual and reproductive health and rights provisions. They are saying that countries are not allowed to make reservations to these consensus agreements and so on, which they want to make as treaties. What does that mean? Well, in international law, countries have the right, when they are about to ratify an agreement or a document or a treaty, they have the right to make a declaration that they reserve the right not to comply with certain provisions of the treaty. And they are telling our governments of the African and Pacific states, that we're not going to allow you all to make reservations. Now, countries would make reservations based on reasons such as the religious, social, cultural, and traditional beliefs of their people. You can't just go, I mean, you have to take into consideration the religious, the cultural, the traditional beliefs of our people with regards to LGBTQ ideologies, right? And many countries, African countries, Caribbean countries, etc., have put up resistance to what the EU wants us to do. And the EU is saying, we're not allowing all to make any reservations if you're signing this treaty. So where's that? That's bullying. In other words, you bullying us. In other words, you want to take away our sovereignty. That is what you want to do, to take away our sovereignty. Now, remember that this so-called LGBTQ ideology involves sexual orientation and gender identity, right? In other words, they want to force our children. Now, remember, all that I am talking here is in relation to children, not adults. All I'm talking here is in relation to children, right? Children and adolescents. Children are individuals from the age of 0 to 18. Adolescents, they say, is from 0 to 19, right? Or maybe from, a little older than that. So now they want to impose these ideologies on us, these LGBTQ ideologies, which include gender orientation, sexual orientation, and gender identity. So in other words, they want us to implement laws that would institutionalize and recognize that, okay, there's more than two genders. There are in-between genders. And if I remember reading right, there are over 150 in-between genders, between male and female. In other words, they are saying, you're talking about, they want to introduce laws that would recognize what is called gender fluidity. In other words, you could be a male today, you could identify as a female tomorrow, you could identify as a cat, you could identify as a dog. I remember watching a video recently where they scolded a child in England because that child did not want to identify or recognize a fellow student who identified as a cat, right? This student identified as a cat, and this other student said, look, I'm not identifying him as a cat. Me calling him no cat. He is who he is. So this is the kind of foolishness that they want to impose on us, right? So the EU and the UN, through their sexual and reproductive health and right advocates, they are prepared to employ legal challenges, legal and other challenges, to decimate our religious, social, and cultural values, consign them to the dustbin of history, and impose their corrupt LGBTQ ideologies on our children and the broader society. Now, they plan, listen, and we know this to be true. We know of the Jason Jones case in 2018, and I think there's a case that a judgment was given in Barbados 1 or 2 days ago, right, that repealed the buggery law in Barbados. I don't know if they call it the buggery law, but it's the homosexuality law, and they have thrown that out of the window. So they are prepared, and I will let you know, they study each country individually. They study the legal framework. They study the religious, social, and cultural values in the country, and they strategize as to how, what strategies they would use to overthrow our religious, social, and cultural values using any means necessary, whether it be legal, whether it be through the media, through literature, through films, through movies. They study that, and their plan is eventually to decimate our moral, our religious, social, and cultural values and consign them to the dustbin, starting with the children. Anybody who knows a little bit about psychology will know if you want to change a nation, if you want to bring about social change in a nation, you start with the children. So they want to impose, and they are prepared to do anything necessary that is legal to overthrow and wipe out our religious, social, cultural values. Nothing to do with God. So in other words, they want to wipe God out of the picture, right? They claim that our conservative religious, social, and cultural norms are an obstruction to them achieving their gender equality in children through their LGBTQ ideologies. Right? Let me just continue. With regards to this comprehensive sex education, right? What they want is that all children 0 to 18 years have what they are saying is all children have the right. Now I'm stressing on the word right because they have made this into a rights-based issue. They are saying, based on UN documents and agreements that have stipulated things about social, about sexual, reproductive, and health rights, based on that, they are saying that all children, and here the definition of children is 0 to 18 years old, they have the right to comprehensive sex education. Why? They say to gain knowledge, explore values and attitudes, and develop the skills they need to make conscious, healthy, and respectful choices about their sexuality and sexual relations. However, it all sounds very nice. If you just read what their theory is, it sounds very lofty, it sounds very celebrated, it sounds very harmless. But what we do know is that what we do know about the term comprehensive sex education, that we know that comprehensive sex education actually, right, in reality, sexualizes and corrupt the minds of our children and will create a generation of licentious, promiscuous, mentally, emotionally, and psychologically sick young people. Right? We know that. How do we know that? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. When we examine the contents of the curricula that they recommend, that the ministries of education use in developing their own curricula for this comprehensive sex education in schools, we see the content is LGBTQ ideology. When we look at the books, there's a big hoorah now about books in RIK. When we look at the books, those of us who do research, when we look at the books, we see that the content of these books is not appropriate for children. A lot of the content is introducing children into homosexuality, lesbianism, transgenderism, and all these things, right? Even bestiality, right? Who wants a children to be? Who wants children, to be indoctrinated with this kind of satanic ideology? Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about this sexual and reproductive health and rights services. Listen carefully. Sexual and reproductive health and rights services. So if you read that, you would say, well, okay, they're talking about, having children, when you will have children, how much children you will have. If you get sick, you have some fibroids or ovaries problems, you could go to the health center, you could go to the hospital and get treatment. Normal, what we will refer to as the normal services that our health sector, our health people would provide for the people of the nation. But they're going further. That is not what they mean when they talk about sexual and reproductive health and rights services. They mean much more than that. And I will give you a little list of what it is here. Sexual and reproductive health and rights services, they say that sexual and rights services should be gender responsive, rights-based, adolescent and youth friendly, and available to all adolescents and young people without parental knowledge and consent. But here what some of these services are. Adolescent abortion. In other words, they want the state to implement policies that, adolescents, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, right? When they get pregnant, they could go and have an abortion without the parents' consent and without the parents' knowledge. That is what they want. What they want is adolescent contraception. So you're the 11-year-old or your 12-year-old, right? Your 13-year-old could go to some clinic. Most likely the International Planned Parenthood Federation, they already set up an office here. And they would be provided with free contraception, 10 years old. And if you could do it at 9 years old, 9 years old. Then as the fella talked about in the video that we just see, right? The state must also provide pediatric and adolescent transgender surgeries. In other words, it is their right. It is children's right. If you're a 6-year-old or you're a 7-year-old or 5-year-old and the teacher tell you, listen, you should be a girl and not a boy. What they are saying is that the state must give them the right to have their gender transformed through surgery and the use of puberty blockers and so on. What madness are they talking about? This is craziness. Which people in their right mind would want to give them those kind of rights to children? This is madness, right? Transgender hormonal treatment, puberty blockers, right? And other services, pregnancy tests, gynecological services, HIV screening, right? And treatment. And then I want to talk a little bit about what they define as sexuality. They say, well, you have the right, children have the right to their sexuality. What does that mean? Well, if you go to their documents, there are about 2 or 3 paragraphs that describes it. But when you think about it and you analyze it carefully, what it is saying is that children have the right to derive sexual pleasure by any means, anyhow, with anything or any person, and to do whatever is necessary to satisfy the fantasies. So if a child figure, you have a penchant for dogs, you can have sex with your dogs, your parents can't tell you nothing. You want to have sex with your cousin, your parents can't tell you nothing. You want to have sex with your sister, your parents can't tell you, because they are saying you have the right to explore your fantasies and satisfy your sexual pleasures by pursuing your fantasies. This is
So Pastor Grant, I just want to step in here for a second.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, being a pastor and so on, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I mean, we know what they're doing is unscientific and goes against all that we know in terms of science and so on.
Yeah.
In terms of the genders. But from a spiritual perspective,
yeah,
what do you see happening here? What is the church doing? What is the spiritual body doing to push back on this evil agenda?
Right. Okay. What we have to do, there are a number of things. Okay, if you talk about the church, we have, I think I want to use a term from Western movies. We have to circle our wagons. I think that's the term. In Western movies, when a group of people under attack, they were out in the prairies or whatever, and they've been attacked. They circle the wagons as a means of protection. Well, we have to circle our wagons. What we have to do in the churches, we have to have sessions with young people. Well, first we have to be prayerful. First, we have to pray that God will put an end to this, or He will strengthen His people to overcome this, because this is bigger than us. So prayer against this thing is key. Then we have to have sessions with parents. We have to have sessions with young people. You have to have sessions with parents to let them know what is happening, what is coming down in the pipeline, and how to deal with it, how to deal with your young people, how to talk to your young people. And we have to have sessions with young people in the church and in the home. We no longer can just depend on, well, okay, they will just learn as they go along. We have to bring this up in the home. We have to bring it up in the church. We have to bring it up in the Parent Teachers Association.
Yep, the PTAs and so on.
Yeah, the PTAs and so on. We have to have conversations. If we just leave this like that and we don't alert our people to what is going on and to what is right and what is wrong, and also we have to push back. We have to monitor. Now we have to be extra vigilant with regards to what our children is being taught in schools. Examine the books, go to the teacher and find out what is being taught concerning this thing, if anything is being taught. Now with all this technology, they could be teaching your children online without books and you don't know. We have to inquire from the Ministry of Education and from the school if our students are being taught anything online and what is being taught. So that is one area. So we have to circle our wagons and we have to teach our children. We have to have sessions in the churches. The churches have to devote special sessions to discussion around this and what we will do about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That is something I think all churches and religious bodies should be doing right now, because
Should be doing right now.
this evil agenda is coming like a flood, and
Ye-
we have to really dam this up and push back. Else, what will we
Yes,
have next?
yes. So as you say, it's coming like a flood, and I know that I have been doing the research, and let me tell you something. These people are huge, they are powerful, they are well funded. And a lot of these cases, like the Jason Jones case and the case in Barbados, Jason Jones didn't get up one morning and decide to challenge the Buggery law. Jason Jones was selected and chosen by some international advocacy group that funded his whole legal challenge against the government. They say in their in terms of their mission statements and what they want to do, they say openly that they will fund, right, LGBTQ activists and activist group to challenge the laws and values that they deem that is a hindrance to them achieving what they want. So I don't know if you want me to continue a little bit with.
We want to wrap up soon, Pastor Grant.
Yes.
But I really thank you for your contribution to this and the fight against this agenda. Tonight, Marcia Weeks is busy right now, getting ready for that big rally they're going to be hosting tomorrow in Barbados.
Yeah.
Try and get out there, bring the
Well, I think
family.
I was almost to the end of what I was
Yeah.
contributing anyway.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Mel, I'm not sure if you have a final word. I'll bring on the other panelists for a final word before we start to wrap up. So, Mr. Williams, any final
Thank
words?
you. Thank you so much for
Uh,
putting up the document that I sent you. And
Yes.
the pastor spoke at length about it. Trinidad and Tobago, this is where we are. This is where we are. These people do not tell us the truth. How many times do they have to continue lying to you and hiding things within paperwork? Because why? They know you all don't take the time to read anything. You don't take the time to educate yourself. And when people speak to you all, you know what you all call them? Conspiracy theorists. These are our children. This is our future. And because we do not retain God in our mind, we don't keep His word in our heart and our mind, many people are being given over to a reprobate mind to do things that are unseemly. In every country, doors have been opened, and it is a progression. People open your eyes and look at what is happening all over the world. It goes in step by step. Folks, once the children are gone, that's it. And for the believers, go read the word and see what those children are supposed to do and why they're being attacked this way. Thank you.
This
Mr. Williams.
this is completely a satanic attack on the family. And as the pastor related, it is funded by very powerful people. People who you would not expect, who is in high political office, billionaires, people in the celebrity circle of Hollywood. And they're all Satanists. Recently, there was a Satanist church opened up in America. Just imagine that, a church of Satan. Who would have think that years ago? So this is what we're seeing, that a lot of these bills and is coming right out of the UN and the World Economic Forum and passed down to the Caribbean nations. And what is behind that is the money. Well, if you don't do this, you would not get the money. We can give you this money, but you have to do this.
Yeah.
Remember, Joe Biden said to the man in Ukraine, well, I'm living here in, let's see, six hours. And if you don't do this, you're not going to get the $1 million. Well, that's the agenda all the while in the Caribbean now. They hold that funding over their heads that if you don't comply, you will not get no money from the International Monetary Fund. You will not get no money from the World Bank. And all these sources that are corrupting the politicians. The love of money is the root of all evil. And by reaching up for that, the politicians have corrupted themselves, and so it's bringing the corruption under their constituents. But we must not be like Judas. We must not be like Esau, who sold his birthright for one pot of stew, but afterwards he could not get it back. So if we let our children be taken, we will not get them back. Please do not sell out. Hold the line, draw the line, and stand firm for truth and righteousness. Get back to your Christian values and put your faith in Christ Jesus and let Him lead you. Let Him lead you all the way. This is a spiritual battle, and that is my take here. Open your eyes and be wise, and don't listen to mainstream media, because then you will be deceived. You'll be thoroughly deceived. Mainstream media is the mouth of the serpent. You all hearing me? Okay, that's my take.
Thank you very much. Any last word, Pastor Graham, just before we close?
Yeah. I just want to add that in addition to prayer and, as I say, circling our wagons, we need, and this is what Russia did, this is what Hungary did, and I think this is what Poland did. We need to lobby our MPs, right, to introduce and enact laws banning LGBTQ material in school, education, textbooks, and other materials, and on TV shows for children and that sort of thing. We need to ban these things. okay, we need to introduce legislation, because if we don't introduce legislation, the government could do what they want. And one other thing, I was asked to mention this. It doesn't exist now, but we need a law, a referendum law, so that matters like these, we can put it to a referendum in the country and let the country decide what it is we want and what it is we don't want. Thank you.
Totally agree. Well, I want to thank all our guests for coming in tonight. Mr. Williams, Mel, Pastor Grant, thank you all very much for this valuable contribution. And again, we want to, encourage people to come out and support the rally tomorrow at 10 a.m. You can see it on the stream here. And I'm going to be playing a short promo. And in that promo, you'll see some of the speakers are going to be there, Cassius and so on, right? So, guys, thank you very much and good night. And see you all soon.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling, school bell ring. Truth me I speak to teach the children. We ain't backing down low, we ain't moving, join the fight. Watch out my children, boom, yes, let me begin. Open your ear and start listening. I want all the powers that be hear this thing. We the people from right here in them, standing up for the rights now, we children. We ain't backing down, we ain't scared of them, join the fight. Show them which God we serving. It's time to unite to protect the children. Ting-a-ling-a-ling, school bell ring. Truth me I speak to teach the children. We ain't backing down low, we ain't moving, join the fight. Watch out my children. Ting-a-ling-a-ling, school bell ring. Truth me I speak to teach the children. We ain't backing down low, we ain't moving, join the fight. Watch out my children, boom.